This week on Iron Horse Railways, apparently I've lost my mind because I've been very ill with a sore face, and that's had an effect on my cognitive ability and reasoning. And I've decided to let you lot decide what I spend my hard-earned money on. Keep watching to find out how you can decide which locomotive I buy next. Hello folks, welcome to another episode of Iron Horse Weekly. I'm really not been well this week. I mentioned last week that I have an issue with my jaw. TMJ, have a Google of that for some hilarity. Also got the dreaded COVID, which thankfully hasn't been as bad as it was last year. However, it's making me really tired, and that combined with this means I'm getting zero sleep whatsoever. Very irritable. I'm on about 15 tablets a day, so it's all fun and games at this house. Thankfully I have model railways to keep me somewhat distracted. Now, a little bit later on, we're going to be weathering this. Now, this is my GT3 from KR Models, and this is the British Rail lined black. Beautiful model, but as you all well know, this is a what if livery. The what if livery in its essentially what if livery is a livery given to a locomotive which may have reasonably happened. For example, you wouldn't spray one purple and put stars on it because that wouldn't have happened, but GT3 in BR black or blue, that would have been a distinct possibility. So it's a reasonable candidate for a what if livery. Model railways are all about having fun, so it's a good one to have in the fleet, if you will, for when you fancy running something. But that's not enough for me. I'm going to do a little bit more with it and take it a little bit further. So we've got a what if locomotive, but what about if we what if the what if? GT3 was designed with express passenger services in mind, went under extensive testing for a few years, then got sidetracked and then eventually dismantled and scrapped. What if? What if that after the passenger testing, British Rail decided, well, hang on a second, why don't we see what this big powerful locomotive does? It's constantly burning the same fuel as whether it's doing 10 miles an hour or idling in a station as it is flying down the rails at 70 miles an hour. Why don't we test it on freight? So then British Rail painted the loco in BR black because hard wearing BR black and all this lot, and they set about testing it on freight work. Things like merry-go-round coal was an initial thought, but there was concerns of flammability issues, as I'm sure you can understand. So they tried it on pickup goods and everything basically. They also during this period retuned the turbine, so it wasn't quite as fuel hungry, it wasn't as powerful, but because it was going on freight it didn't need to be. Slightly detuned it a little bit. There was even talks of removing the turbine entirely and fitting it with a Type 1 diesel prime mover from the class 20s. It was small and narrow, would sort of fit that steam engine inspired length of a chassis this thing has. So I'm not going to bore you with the details of me showing you weathering. You've seen me doing weathering 100 times before now. Most of you end up skipping it anyway, so I'll just show you a few highlights of the process and then the finished beautiful item. But that'll be coming a bit later on. Let me tell you about something else that's going on in my little brain. I wanted a way to involve you people at home in this hobby that we share, and particularly my part of the hobby as well. Now, I'm trying to think of the ways I can do this, and what I'm going to do, and I may regret this, but I'm going to let you good people who are subscribed to the channel decide which locomotive I purchase next. Yes, that's right, you are going to decide which locomotive I spend my real money on and buy to go in the fleet. And I've picked out two examples, and basically you guys are going to email me on the email address in the comments with the title "Your Next Locomotive." Must be your next locomotive in the title, otherwise the email won't get read, it won't go through. And then you choose whether I should get. Okay, so rule 1, no tracks and tyres. Rule 2, I can't already have one of them. And rule 3, the model has to be less than £100. And we're going to take it, we're going to get it, and we're going to look at doing things to it. We're going to upgrade it. Now, a lot of people have done upgrade videos before, but I like to think I do things a little bit differently and a bit more chaotic and a bit more accessible. So hopefully, when it arrives, whatever it may be, it'll be not next week's video or probably the week after that it will arrive, because I'll need time to actually buy it and what have you. But it'd be good to see, won't it? So, without further ado, let's move on and have a look at weathering this GT3. It's a nice model, the GT3, and I think now that I've weathered it, it looks a little bit nicer. Just getting rid of that shiny new plastic and actually making it look like what a BR locomotive would have looked like back in those days. Even one that's only been floated around for a few years, just doing test runs, and of course doing some freight test work as well. Alright, coming up to the end of this little running session now. It's put me in the mood to buy something else, so without further ado, let's take a look at those locomotives I've picked out that you folks are going to buy for me. Or shall I say, tell me to buy. Right, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of weathering. Yes, it's very dark, it's late at night, I'm not so well again with my face. But I promised you the opportunity to pick the next locomotive I buy, and that's what you're going to get. So we're going to get rid of this darkness and look at some pretty locomotives. Now you might be surprised to find this out, but both of them are actually steam locos. Let's have a look, shall we? So my first choice is the ROD 280. These were made for the First World War, apparently. They arose from a need to have a standardised locomotive design for the First World War period. Now, apparently the idea for this locomotive was stolen from the Great Central Railways 8K series locomotive, which was designed for heavy freight. Obviously, being wartime, this would have been a fantastic platform to base your war train on. So yes, it's quite a big locomotive. As you all know, my Heritage Railway is quite small. I am building a second / rebuilding that Heritage Railway at some point, so it's going to be a little bit different in design eventually, but I'm going to want some more steam locos to run it as well. And a few of these were actually preserved for a time, so it's actually a good candidate. And things that I really like about this particular locomotive is it's got plenty of details on the cab, on the interior. It was primarily designed for freight work, which is good for me. That means I get a chance to weather it and really sink my teeth into making it look dirty and grimy, so that's always a plus. And as I said before, there is one or two of these that are being preserved, maybe not as an ROD, but certainly as an 8K, so with a little bit of modeller's license I can certainly get away with running one of these on the layout. So hopefully this is a nice choice. And of course at the minute this is up for sale for about 99 quid from Rails of Sheffield, so this is certainly a great candidate for option number 1. Let's have a look at what the second option is. Now this next one, whilst not being a big behemoth of a super freight liner, actually took my fancy quite quickly. It's a nice little Oxford Rail J27, or a North Eastern Railway P3 class. And again, this was another locomotive designed for freight work, which again is fantastic for me because, as we all know, I like to run freight trains and everything else. And even though I'm doing it on a preserved railway, as we all know, preserved railways do actually have demonstration goods trains and things going on, so that would be another good option to have. It's also under 100 quid. This one's actually under 90 quid, and it's brand new as well, and we can DCC fit it. They're also going to give us a little bit of scope for adding details like a driver, better coal, running lamps and all the rest of it as well. But because it's smaller and more compact in design, it should mean that I can get away with running this a little bit easier and with bigger trains. Issue with running a big 280 or a 480 or whatever it was is that it takes up a lot of space, and this smaller option, the J27, the P3, you could actually run more coaches, wagons, carriages, etc, 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 meaning it's actually going to be a more useful locomotive for the layout. So that is also a really important factor to consider when deciding my fate and picking which locomotive I actually end up buying. Now, both of these are from Rails of Sheffield, so you can pop up to their website, have a look. I'm not going to be given these, I'm buying these with my own money. But you guys have got until Sunday 12 PM. I'm going to count the emails, and whichever loco has the most requests is the one that I'm going to buy. I'll update you guys next week, and then we'll go from there. So those are the two options we've got. I know, steam locomotive is crazy, isn't it? I know I'm not a massive steam locomotive fan. I have had them before. I've always moved them on because of one reason or another. Not because I don't like them, just because I like to change what's in the fleet every now and again. But I'm thinking it's time now, especially with the Heritage Railway behind me. It's not really getting used because of the modern image thing down there. I'm going to look at redoing that layout. As you all know, in the coming months, days, weeks, years, that's when I get a complete refurb, so I can attach it to the end of this one and make one long, continuous drive model railway. But eventually, if I can ever get it to an exhibition, if you will. So just to clarify the rules for this little, should we call it an event? It's not a competition, is it? Because you're not winning anything. The rules are as follows. Send your recommendation to the email below. As again, the title must be your next locomotive. And just let me know which you think I should buy. Should I buy the J27 or the ROD280? I'll be happy to buy either of them, to be honest with you. Do bear in mind, whichever one we get, we are going to weather it and we're going to DCC sound fit it, as well as look at what other bits we can do to it. That might be just putting realistic cold on the driver in it, maybe even adding directional lights, who knows. We'll see what happens and we'll see how brave I'm feeling. When the loco eventually arrives, I will be able to post an update and let you all know on the Facebook page, so do check out the IronHorseRailways Facebook page. Literally go to Facebook, search IronHorseRailways, you can't miss it. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for updates for the week as well. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on this video, this channel as well. And with that said, I'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon. Bye bye.